Good morning and hello America. My name is Andrew Botros.
And I'm Dylan Tankersley. Earlier this morning, May 12, 1949, the Soviet blockade of Berlin was lifted. A British convoy immediately drove through to Berlin, and the first train from West Germany reached Berlin at 5:32 a.m. Enormous crowds are already gathering there to celebrate the end of the blockade.
The continued success of the airlift conducted by the Western Allies since the start of the blockade on June 24, 1948 has humiliated the Soviets, and the Easter Parade of 1949 was the last straw. On April 15, 1949, the Telegraph Agency of the Soviet Union reported a willingness by the Soviets to lift the blockade.
Soon afterwards, the four powers, consisting of Great Britain, France, the USA, and the Soviet Union, began serious negotiations, and a settlement was reached on Western terms.
The entire process of the blockade was a direct result of the Soviets' attempt to force the Western powers to allow the Soviet Union to start supplying Berlin with food, fuel, and aid, thereby giving the Soviets practical control over the entire city.
More information on the heroic airlift executed by the U.S. and Britain right after the commercial break.
Now, give it the heat bed. That's the wildest. Easy Pop's too much, the neatest, the mildest. We'll all have a gallon in just about a minute. Popcorn, salt, and oil, and everything in it.
What do you know? No muss, no fuss. There's Easy Pop popcorn for all of us.
Easy Pop, man, that's real popcorn.
Welcome back. It's 8 a.m. Now let's send it back over to our field reporter, Daniel Donchev, who has more on the airlift, which successfully sustained approximately 2 million people. Daniel?
Yes, Andrew, I'm here in West Berlin, where despite the recent announcement of the end of the blockade, flights have continued to come in. The French, British, and Americans want to ensure that supplies are amassed so that there will be ample time to restart the airlift if needed. The amount of goods delivered increased as time went on. At the start of the airlift, the American military government set a total of daily supplies needed, such as 646 tons of flour and wheat, 109 tons of meat and fish, 180 tons of sugar, and 38 tons of salt. Air crews from the United States Air Force, the British Royal Air Force, the Royal Canadian Air Force, the Royal Australian Air Force, the Royal New Zealand Air Force, and the South African Air Force flew over 200,000 flights in 1 year, providing up to 4,700 tons of necessities daily. I got a chance to talk to a flight lieutenant, and this is what he had to say about his personal experience as a pilot during the blockade.
The routine was 3 trips followed by a 24-hour stand-down. We were continued to provide food, coal, and oil despite the weather and despite accidents. There were aircrafts landing as ours were taking off. They were streaming onto the tarmac and were unloaded by German workers. Once this was done, you were away again, and there was a constant stream of supplies. It was never ending, day and night.
Moscow didn't count on the determination of the Western Allies, nor the will of the Berlin people. I was able to catch up with some Americans living in Berlin at the time of the blockade, and they told me some of the challenges they were faced with and how they were able to overcome them for the time being.
The blockade cut off transportation, so we walked to our everyday destinations. Gas supplies were cut, so we got used to cooking slowly. The blockade brought darkness to the city, so we used candlelight. We weren't going to let this stop us from living a routine lifestyle. We became used to the problems that came with the blockade and remained hopeful that a solution was on its way. And sure enough, it came.
When the Soviets began to promise free food to anyone who crossed into East Berlin and registered their ration cards there, most of us overwhelmingly rejected the offers. The Soviet and German communists relentlessly proclaimed that all Berlin came under Soviet authority and predicted the imminent abandonment of the city by the Western occupying powers in radio broadcasts. We managed to endure the psychological war that they implemented against us.
The Berliners' refusal to panic, coupled with the Allied aircraft assistance, proved too much for the Russians. They couldn't crush West Berlin economically, nor win it politically. Andrew, Dylan, back to you.
Thank you, Daniel. So far, there have been a total of 101 fatalities recorded as a result of the operation, including 40 Britons and 31 Americans, mostly due to non-flying accidents. 17 American and 8 British aircraft crashed during the operation. The cost of the airlift is shared between the USA, Great Britain, and Germany. Estimated costs range from approximately $224 million to over $500 million.
The blockade has helped overcome any remaining differences between the French, British, and Americans regarding West Germany, leading to a merger of all three countries' occupation zones into Trizonia, a single economic unit. It has helped unify German politicians, including those who have been fearful of Soviet opposition in these zones in support of the creation of a West German state.
It seems that this is just the beginning of an intense rivalry between the United States of America and the Soviet Union, one which will carry on for many years to come. The two major world powers will continue to compete for political and economic supremacy in their own respective hemispheres. Their interests are sure to collide in the future, and the impact of this clash remains to be witnessed. One thing is certain: America's determination and dedication will prevail over the USSR, just like it prevailed over Germany in the World War II.
However, recently rumors have surfaced that the Soviets are planning to test their first atomic bomb in the next couple of months. If they succeed, what does this mean for the future of our world? More on this after the break.